What's happening, party people? Happy Motivate Monday. This is your daily morning motivational message because motivation is a lot like doing what? Taking a bath, personal hygiene, brushing your teeth. You got to do these things every day. Why? Because if you don't, that lack of maintenance will catch up to you in funk and stains on your teeth and bad breath and different ways that you can offend the atmosphere that you're going to be occupying with your space of your body. So understand that the internal cleansing and upkeep of your mind is just as, if not more important than what you're doing on the external. My question to you is, are you an A student? Are you a C student? Are you an F student or somewhere in between? If you're going to get graded, would you prefer to get the highest possible grade? If someone's going to evaluate your performance, your ability to take in information, understand it, and then implement it and apply it, would you prefer to get the highest possible score? Now, this is my gradient that I'm giving you, not the traditional one in the educational system, because that's extremely flawed, it's curved. There's all kinds of issues, but I want you to stay with me in terms of the analogy, all right? So let's say you decide you're going to be an A student no matter what. It means that you're willing to do what is required to fulfill your obligations to get that achievement. Something that you're pursuing in this life. It could be a promotion, it could be a career track, it could be a relationship, it could be deepening your spiritual walk, it could be mastering a craft, learning a new skill set, understanding text, learning something that is sacred, and then being able to implement it in your life, picking up a new language, learning an instrument, whatever that path is, you're going to go about it with the desire to be an A student. Now, here's the beauty of it. Anyone can do this. You don't have to be gifted. You don't have to have a natural inclination or a facility when you're making a decision to embark on learning something new. It just is going to take some people more effort than others. It's going to take some people longer than others, but everyone has the same capacity. You ever notice when you were coming up in school, someone in the same classroom as you got a completely different grade? They may have shown up the same way you did, but they didn't show up the same way that you did. You with me? They may have shown up physically in the room, but they didn't show up. They were not physically and mentally present. And they didn't take what was in the room out of the room and then make it their business to master that room. And I remember this vividly. I was in a class by the late great Dr. Dwayne Jackson, one of the most brilliant professors I had encountered, and many of us encountered when I was at Morehouse College. He was teaching psychology, different iterations of psychology. This one was called animal behavior. And it wasn't just the study of animals and insects, it was the study of people and the instinct, the base instinct that we have cultivated genetically over time. And his class was infamous because if he gave one A every semester, that was a big freaking deal. In other words, there might be 25 people in that class, but everybody knew only one, if that only one, was going to get the A. And I remember in this class was our valedictorian, Terrence Liddell. And I was in this class, and I remember that semester I'd made a commitment. I'd made a decision that I was going to get all A's. I wrote it down. I'd never in my life, I failed. I flunked off the football team. I was ineligible the very last game of the season because I flunked off the team. So this was not a gifted individual. This was not somebody who was scholarly by any stretch of the imagination. I'd made a decision that I was going to change my life. I was going to change my thought process. I was going to change my effort. And I just was committed to the outcome. I was going to do it come hell or high water. And so here we are at the beginning of the semester. And I made a commitment that no one, and I mean no one, was going to outwork me. You might be gifted, more gifted than me. You might have a natural facility for intelligence and textbook learning and taking in concepts and learning, and you might have all of that going for you. Didn't matter. Whatever your situation was had nothing to do with me. Whatever you thought you were going to get out of the same class that I was sitting in with you had nothing to do with me. My decision, my commitment was between me and me. The effort that I was putting forth was between me and me. And so I made that decision, and then I figured it out. Commit first, create second. Write that down. Commit first, create second. You're not always going to know how. How am I going to get this done? How am I going to do it? Don't worry about the how. Commitment precedes creativity. And if you're committed, your mind, your body, your heart, and your spirit will find a way. And so I remember going to the class, taking in the lesson, and I would read the chapter before the class started if we knew we got the assignment. And then if we got it after, I would read it over and over again. Not only would I read the chapter, but I would underline and highlight what were the key concepts, what were the things in bold, what were the most important takeaways from that chapter. And then I wrote down those key concepts on note cards. And I'd have the key concepts and then the further explanation on the back of the note card. And ladies and gentlemen, I carried those note cards with me everywhere I went. Everywhere I went, waiting in line at the cafeteria for what they called food. My brothers in Hero know what I'm talking about. My brothers in Du Bois know what I'm talking about. My brothers in Mays Hall, all my Morehouse brothers know what I'm talking about back in the day. They called that food. We were waiting in line in the cafeteria. I had my note cards. Hanging out in the student center, I had my note cards. Walking to and from class, different classes, I had my note cards. And every day I was studying. Every day I was reviewing. Every day I was going in because I did not have the natural capacity to just take in information and keep it. Didn't have that. I developed it over years, but this was my first foray into making that level of commitment. I'd never made that level of commitment about getting good grades in my life. I'd never boldly stated to the closest people in my circle at that time, hey, I'm going to get straight A's, and I had it on in my dorm room mirror, so anybody that came to my dorm room saw it. And they were like, okay, we see what you about. Well, let's go. And that was my regimen. So whenever there was an exam, whenever there was a test, I was over preparing constantly, over reading again and again and again and again and again and again. Got to the end of the semester, and I'm looking to my right, and I'm looking at the valedictorian, Terrence Odell, and I'm curious. I wonder where he's at in his process. I know where I'm at. And as I'm looking over at him at the end of the semester, Dr. Dwayne Jackson and all of his glory and splendor and brilliance says, hey, Ed, come to the front of the room. I said, yes, sir. He said, I want you to tell the class what you do to prepare for these exams. Because he was kind of looking at me like, who is this dude? Because I had aced everything. And I explained to them my process. And I was the only one that got an A in that class that semester. Did I get straight A's that semester? No, I got a 3.8. I missed it by 1. I got a B in physics. But ladies and gentlemen, it's better to aim high and fall just a little bit short than to aim low and hit it dead on the head. And even though Terrence Odell went on to become valedictorian, and that was the only class he didn't get an A in, I got that. So Terrence, this is for you, brother. Much love and respect to you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got some value out of this, please like and subscribe. Go after what you're going after with that commitment. Trust in the commitment, have faith, and create second, because everything is figure outable. So go ahead and share this video because it's a blessing to be a blessing.